What if the world's most famous luxury hotel is becoming a victim of its own success? For more than 2 decades, the Burj Al Arab was the ultimate symbol of wealth, exclusivity, and Dubai's extraordinary rise. It helped transform a desert city into a global luxury powerhouse. Yet, behind the gold leaf, record-breaking room rates, and billion-dollar reputation lies a challenge that even $300 million of renovation could not solve. Billionaire travelers are quietly checking out, not because the product failed, but because fame itself became the problem. The building got too famous for the people. It was built to impress. This is the story the brochure will never tell you. The hotel that made Dubai. To understand the crisis, you first have to understand what the Burj Al Arab actually achieved, because what it achieved was genuinely, historically extraordinary. When the building opened on the 9th of December, 1999, Dubai was not yet the city you know today. The Palm had not been built. So the Burj Al Arab was opened in 1999, and up until October 2020, the Burj Khalifa was still years away from existing even on paper. Dubai was a city of ambition and oil money, and a leadership that was placing a bet so audacious it made serious people in the global real estate and hospitality industry privately question whether anyone in charge had a firm grip on financial reality. This was not a city with a centuries-old reputation to trade on. It was a city inventing its reputation in real time, and the Burj Al Arab was the instrument it chose to do it with. The bet was this: build the most extravagant, most recognizable, most photographed hotel on earth. Not in Paris, not in New York, not in Tokyo, but in a desert city on the edge of the Gulf that most of the world's wealthiest travelers had never visited and could not have pointed to confidently on a map 5 years earlier. Build it on an artificial island. Shape it like a sail. Make it 280 meters tall and fill it with nothing but duplex suites, 192 of them. So this is the royal suites here at the Burj Al Arab. Unfortunately, not where I'm going to be staying tonight, but still pretty incredible to experience this. With the smallest measurement, 170 square meters, line the walls in gold leaf. Install a restaurant accessible only by a simulated submarine voyage. Put a helipad on the 28th floor that cantilevers over the water. Invite the most famous athletes on the planet to perform stunts on it that will be photographed by every media outlet on Earth. And charge $1,800 a night for the cheapest room in the building, not the penthouse, the entry level. When I first saw the statistics on what this building commanded at its peak, the average room rate, the occupancy figures during high season, and the waiting list for specific suites during the winter months, I had to verify them 3 times because they looked like a typo. The Burj Al Arab held the highest average room rate of any hotel property on the planet for years running. It was not competing with other Dubai hotels. It was not competing with other Middle Eastern properties. It was in direct competition with the Four Seasons in Paris, the Ritz in London, and the most celebrated address in New York. And by most meaningful commercial measures, it was beating them. A building that did not exist in 1998 was outperforming institutions that had been perfecting their product for over a century. Tiger Woods drove golf balls off the helipad into the Gulf in 2004. Roger Federer played tennis up there the following year. These were not guest amenity events. These were mythology-building operations. Carefully staged spectacles broadcast globally to confirm for everyone watching that the Burj Al Arab was not simply a luxury hotel, but a stage on which the world's most famous people chose to perform. The building was not hosting celebrities. The celebrities were feeding the building's legend. And for over a decade, that legend grew stronger with every image that circulated, every journalist who filed a story, and every businessman who told a dinner table story about the suite with the gold leaf ceiling, and a view that made him feel for one night like he owned the Gulf. But here's the question I kept coming back to as I tracked these numbers across the years that followed. The question that nobody inside the building seemed to be asking loudly enough in the right rooms. What happens when a legend becomes a photograph? What happens when the image that once compelled the world's wealthiest people to fly across continents just to stand in a lobby becomes so utterly ubiquitous, so reproduced, so filtered, so present on every screen, in every boardroom of every billionaire who might theoretically pick up the phone and make a reservation, that the trip stops feeling like a discovery and starts feeling like a confirmation of something already seen 1,000 times on someone else's feed? That is where the real story begins. And it is a story that the gold leaf cannot cover. The problem $300 million couldn't solve between 2014 and 2021. Jumeirah Group. Palm Jumeirah is often proclaimed the eighth wonder of the world, a symbol of creativity and ambition. The operator of the Burj Al Arab under the umbrella of Dubai Holdings spent an estimated $300 million on refurbishments across 3 separate renovation programs. $300 million on a building that was already considered one of the most lavishly appointed hotel properties in the world. $300 million to reapply gold leaf that was already gold, to redesign lighting systems that already made the building glow at night, like a lantern dropped into Gulf, and update the technology inside suites for guests who were already paying $1,800 a night and had in 20 years of visiting never once filed a complaint about the speed of the internet connection. Now, I want to be precise here. I am not questioning the quality of those renovations, and I am not suggesting the money was misspent in any operational sense. If you have stayed at the Burj Al Arab in the last 3 years, the product remains extraordinary. The service culture, the physical condition of property, and the sheer weight of detail that goes into every corner of the guest experience. All of it remains at a standard that most hotels on earth will never approach. That is not the story. What the $300 million reveals is something else. It reveals anxiety, a very particular kind of luxury brand anxiety that surfaces when the forward numbers start moving in directions that the official forecast did not anticipate. And when the response to those movements is to double down on the physical rather than confront the existential. Because here is what was unfolding in the wider market. At exactly the same time those renovation programs were being announced in press releases written in the confident language of strategic investment. The ultra-luxury travel market was not just evolving. It was fracturing along a fault line that had been building for a decade. And the fracture ran directly through the assumptions that the Burj Al Arab had been built on. Alman Resorts, the brand that constructed its entire identity on being the quiet, invisible, undiscoverable, opposite of everything the Burj Al Arab represented, expanded to 15 new properties in a single decade, each one designed to feel as though it had been found. Dubai's real estate market has been on a tear since 2020, and now analysts are wondering if that is a bubble ready to burst, rather than being built. Each one was architecturally resistant to the camera in a way that made meaningful photography almost impossible for anyone who had not physically stood inside it. Amman does not invite media. Amman does not stage helipad spectacles. Iman's properties do not appear on lists because they have not been submitted to lists, and Iman's waiting lists were growing at precisely the moment when the Burj Al Arab's forward booking curve was doing something that the people running the dashboards were, by several accounts, not well equipped to communicate to senior leadership in the languages those leaders were configured to hear. For seasons open in Riyadh, a new generation of ultra-luxury properties came online in Abu Dhabi with the explicit strategic mandate of capturing the exact guest cohort the Burj Al Arab had spent 2 decades cultivating. The sovereign wealth fund principal, the technology billionaire, and the old money European family that had been making the Dubai trip for 20 years and was now being offered something new and crucially something less known. The Saudi megadevelopment project was generating global media coverage and billionaire fascination as a concept, as an idea, as a promise before a single habitable structure had risen above the desert floor. A project whose stated ambition made a 280-meter fiberglass sail on an artificial island look for the first time in a quarter century, like an artifact of a previous era's sense of what was possible. Here is the question I want you to sit with. You have 3 days. The budget is unlimited. You can go anywhere on Earth. Do you choose the most recognizable hotel in the world? The one where the doorman has posed for selfies with 10,000 tourists? Where every inch of your suite has been photographed and posted and captioned by 1,000 people before you? Where the lobby has appeared in so many Instagram reels that stepping into it feels less like a rival and more like stepping onto a familiar film set? Or do you choose a property so private that its name does not appear on any public list, that no influencer has ever documented its pool, that the only people that exist are the guests who have stayed there and the friends they told in person? For the billionaire class, the actual intended guests of the Burj Al Arab, that question now has a decisive answer that it did not carry in 2005. And that answer is reshaping the economics of Dubai's most famous building in ways that $300 million of renovation cannot reach. The trap built into the blueprint. Now, I want to show you something that I find genuinely remarkable about the structural position the Burj Al Arab finds itself in, because this is a layer of the story that almost no mainstream coverage of this building ever reaches. And once you understand it, it changes how you see the entire situation. Not just a hotel, but the entire logic of how ultra-luxury properties are built. And what happens when the world they were built for begins to shift underneath them. The Burj Al Arab has 192 suites. Every single one is a duplex. And that's the incredible story of how the Burj Al Arab, once the ultimate symbol of luxury, prestige, and limitless ambition, faced challenges that few could have imagined. From dominating the global hospitality industry to struggling against changing markets, rising competition, and shifting traveler expectations. Its journey is a reminder that even the most iconic landmarks are not immune to change. But what do you think? Is the Burj Al Arab still the world's greatest luxury hotel, or has its golden era truly come to an end? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next deep dive into the lives of billionaires, trillionaire families, luxury empires, and the world's most fascinating success stories. Thanks for watching, and remember, behind every fortune, every skyscraper, and every empire lies a story most people never hear. We'll see you in the next video.